Hi there traders, this is Steve Miley for FX Explained and our weekly macro watch outlook for the next week of macroeconomic data and the impact from last week's macroeconomic events. Three major events last week, a quiet start to last week, but three major events. The Fed Open Market Committee decision on interest rates in the US, then Trump tweeting regarding US-Sino trade relations, and then the US employment report on Friday. So they were Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let's talk about those in turn. Wednesday, the Fed cut rates as anticipated by 25 basis points. However, the tone from the Fed certainly less dovish than the market wanted, and Chairman Powell actually stating that the rate cut was a mid-cycle adjustment. The market took that as potentially one and done. Certainly we're not going to go into an aggressive rate cuts cycle, and then that saw a general risk-off scenario. Equity markets lower, the US dollar rallying against most currencies. Then Thursday we did get a slight rebound after that on the equity markets. However, then President Trump took to social media on Twitter, tweeting that from the 1st of September the US would levy another 10% of tariffs on $300 billion worth of Chinese imports. That sent equity markets spiraling and plunging lower yet again. The US dollar gained, but the main beneficiary was the Japanese yen in a safe haven bid for the yen. So dollar performing well, but the yen the star performer on Thursday through into Friday. And then Friday we did get then the US employment report, a mixed employment report, but the markets were certainly on the back foot after the events of Wednesday and Thursday. And then so we saw the risk-off scenario continued, equity markets lower, the US dollar continued to rally against most currencies, however will still continue to weaken against the yen. So the yen the star performer on the FX side, but then the US dollar closely after that. Most currencies losing ground to the dollar and the yen through the second half of last week. Equity markets looking very vulnerable. Let's take a look now on the calendar here and what we've got going into this week. Well, the real kind of thing we're going to be watching for are really the Fed speakers, and then anything out the White House regarding the US-Sino trade negotiations. So that's going to be critical, really, those Fed speakers in reaction to maybe the new tariffs and the potential impact on the US economy, plus watching for President Trump again and anything we get from the White House regarding the US-Sino trade talks. On the data side, Monday's critical data is going to be this PMI data. So we have UK, European, German PMI data also going through the day, US PMI Purchasing Managers Index data. That's going to be the major focus on Monday the 5th. On Tuesday, the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, make their rate decision. No change expected there. But then on Wednesday, we have the RBNZ, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, making their rate decision. There is a very strong likelihood that we get a rate cut from the RBNZ. If we move on through then into the week, on Thursday, we have Chinese trade data in here, export-import data from China. And then going into Friday, we have China CPI and PPI data. We also get UK GDP in here, which is going to be important to monitor alongside industrial and manufacturing production from the UK. And we finish off the week with the employment report from Canada. So on the earnings side, we have on Monday and Tuesday HSBC from the UK and Walt Disney from the US, although we are very much at the end of earnings season. So generally overall in here, guys, we're watching for the Fed speakers. We're watching for anything out the White House on the trade negotiations. Those have been on the really impactful events from over the last part of last week, the end of July, early August, and really having a very negative outlook on the equity side going into this first full week of August, with the yen very strong and the US dollar continuing to be weak. Have a great trading week, guys. So traders, don't forget to catch us on the next FX Explained Macro Watch and all the great content on fxexplained.co.uk.